bet. I am recording, right? Not streaming, yeah. Okay, cool. All right, so let's go over today's PA. I thought today was really clean framework for the upside, right? Because we left these all-time highs, right? This weekly candle is already an expansion candle, right? Doesn't really make sense to just reverse randomly off of nothing, right? So after this close especially, that's why I was also bullish yesterday. This is a really clean day, right? We want to see a small wick to expand into all-time highs, right? So when you look within this range here, within the pre-stage range, let's go to 4 hour. We're looking for a key level that can potentially form the low of day. So on the 4 hour, there's really nothing here. It's a small fair value gap, right? As you see, this gap. Now, if you go on the other assets, a little bit cleaner, I believe. Yeah, it's a little bit larger of a gap, right? As you see. So we want to see these gaps support price higher, right? Or some sort of like consolidation. So you have expansion, right? Some sort of consolidation, and then we reverse off of that external low, right? Something like that. So when you play price overnight, as you see, we're opening this day low first, right? We're still leaving these highs. You see we leave these highs? This is very nice to see. So if you're a London trader, this is a really good trade to take. Well, not specifically London because the 2 a.m. candle didn't reverse, but you could trade this like, for example, like if you want to trade around 5 a.m. or something, or I'm sorry, like 6 a.m., like early on, if that's your hours, like you can trade this higher. And I'm pretty sure there's like some opportunities potentially there. But it's a little ugly, a little low volume, but so I kind of avoid this. But yeah, the CAC is way up here, so you probably have to take some sort of failure swing over here. But this is where you would want the low of the day to form, right? If I go to the hourly chart, if my trading view will stop lagging, okay, cool. If I go to the hourly chart here, you see that, right? This previous hour took out this low, had a nice strong close back in the range. Right, so what can we expect the next couple of candles to do to trade into this high? So now we want to see us fail to manipulate this high to trade into all-time highs, because this is not our objective, right? We don't want to see a reversal off of this high, and we wouldn't expect a reversal off this high because, again, that's not the relevant level here. So fast forwarding to some relevant times of the day, around 9:30, right? So if you go to 9:30, prior to 9:30, you can't really position yourself anywhere, right? You can't take a positional entry here, in my opinion, because when you go to YM here, look at YM, right? This is the 9 o'clock close. It just has all these lows. Like you would expect YM to likely take out this low. Does that make sense? So that's why you can't really take a positional entry on NQ, right? So playing that forward, playing what 9:30 does, as you see, it runs these lows. Right, so if we mark out the current day low to current day high at that point, the market runs out these lows and discount of the range, and this creates an SMT with ES, if it'll play. So yeah, you'll see this SMT here. So at this point, ES had no wick on the daily candle as well. See how this has no wick? So I'm like very one-sided bullish for this asset to get to pre-usage high, ES, and then NQ to get to all-time highs, right? So you're gonna see they both print 30-minute candle close. Right, so if 9:30 reverses, what should 10 o'clock do? It should expand. Right, so here's 10 a.m. open right here, the next candle. So as you see, we're opening up within a GXT continuation model. Am I still going here? Am I still good? Yeah, cool. So now we would just expect 10 a.m. to open low, high close, basically. I want 10 a.m. to expand. That's simple as that, right? So when I drop lower, right? What can I assume that should hold? It's this failure swing, right? And I don't necessarily have to wait. I personally did not wait for the CST here, right? Because we already have the V-shaped signature. We already have this failure swing is what you want to hold, basically. It's a little advanced in a way, you could say. But when a CST is like really far, if it CSTs here, it's going to take this hourly swing point high already, right? So really, that V-shaped signature, the first swing point that forms, or the first failure swing, I can use that as a CST. I've talked about that before. As you see, it holds this fair value gap, looking really good. So I took this as one of my entries, like that, right? And I wanted all-time highs. I believe I got a better fill than that, though, or something like that. It was like a little bit lower or something, right? But ultimately, I can take 2R at least, right? I think I had my stop loss a little bit lower, but it doesn't really matter. You're gonna see that 10 a.m. opens lower, right? And then we ultimately get some sort of expansion. Now I did take this on ES as well because I wanted both of them to go higher. As you see, YM was like super weak, right? It was just expanding opposite directions, but this is when I want ES to also trade into this high as well. So while NQ is trading to all-time highs, I want ES to trade into previous day's high, right? As a lagging asset. So I also took this one here, right? And this is where YM takes out this low. And this SMT, by the way, I view this as like strength switch, right? Because obviously ES did not take up previous day's high, or NQ did. You see that divergence there? But now what you're seeing is that ES here is creating a higher high. So in that case, that was a form of strength switch. So that's why I entered this as well, right? I wanted, and also just gave a lot of R, like a lot more R, as you see, to this high. Whereas like in Q, I'm kind of having to like force 2R in a way because it's past the objective. But this is one of the trades I took, and you're gonna see that it just messes around. So notice here, we're creating SMT currently with YM at these lows. So that's why I'm holding this, right? I can assume that this asset will run this low out, right? So that's why I'm holding this. Like I would take this loss because, I mean, look how close it is, this high. I'm always gonna assume that something like this is a retracement, right? And these are the trades that I will hold, but you're gonna see that it just messes around. And it also ultimately goes like really close to the TP, and then it starts to come back, and then it starts to go back up. So this is when I was in 3 contracts here. So you see, I was up at one point like 2.6R, but as you see, it's gonna come back here. And then this is when I started to like, when it started to come back, I at least trimmed 1/3 of my position just to hit a trading day. That's really all I cared about, just to hit a trading day for payouts, because you have to get minimum trading days, right? So I didn't really, I care obviously that I want to hit full TP, but I don't want to make nothing out of this trade, So that's why I trimmed a little bit around here. It's not even like 2R. I think it's around, like 1.6R. I trimmed like when we took that little high out there. But you're going to see that it comes back to my position, and I obviously go break even here. And it was just super choppy. Main reason why it's super choppy likely is because NQ and YM are just expanding in opposite directions. That's when that middle asset is going to be pretty choppy, right? Now I can't really anticipate this happening because I expected when we ran this low out, this low here, or these lows here, I expected this to be the trigger for ES to then go and catch up. That's what I wanted to see, and that's what I was anticipating, but obviously YM did not want to reverse here, so that's why it's so choppy in this area. And as you see, it would have hit me, it would have stopped me out there. That's why I'm going break even here, because like if it's gonna go back to my entry here, I'm probably cooked, right? So as you see, and then it obviously goes to TP. That's how, of course, this works. Always does that, right? You should have seen my trades yesterday. It did the same thing. It's kind of crazy, but this one did hit TP, as we see here. So I can take my first partial around 2R. I was gonna hold my trade until ES hit this high, right? Because that was my goal. I was gonna do it as soon as ES hit this high, but it was just messing around way too much. So as you guys saw, I just took it off at this high. This is something you're gonna see AM trades do. He TPs at engineered like pullbacks, at engineered liquidity when they pull back, right? Because these are potential areas we could reverse, right? And then you just catch you just hold it throughout the expansion. Like if we're gonna expand to the high, you can just hold it, whatever. But this is when I just TP'd here, so it was around 3R, right? For this trade, and a small win. I would just count it break even though on this one, right? So that was my day. But as you can see, the trigger for this little move higher here, or to actually go higher, is actually a 2-stage SMT. So again, this little move lower right here, again, what do we always view this as? Any sort of move away from a failure swing, right? This is obviously a failure swing this high. We automatically assume this move here is a retracement, right? So where could we cap off that retracement? Maybe EQ of the range, right, in this area. But it's going to be some form of Kraken correlation, right? So if you look here, you have an SMT between candle 1 and candle 2, right here. Go on NQ. We do not, right? We do not take out that low. Now if you play, if I go to like 30-minute, I believe, yeah. If you go to the 30-minute, and maybe it was the hourly. I think it was the hourly. Did we hit this fair value gap? Yeah, we did. So check this out. We have this 2 SMT. Notice how 12 o'clock took out 11 o'clock's candle, but not over here, right? So there's that 2-stage SMT via swing points, and that was a trigger for this market to ultimately get to this high. So again, there's opportunities here to re-enter, but I already was up for the day, so no point of trading that. And yeah, guys, while this asset was, you know, basically in discount, so this is a little bit of advanced premium discount. Well, this asset was more so retracing in a range, in like premium, hitting a gap. The other asset was below the range low, right? Manipulating, and then you got a strength switch. That's the ideal scenario, especially for a lagging asset like this. You want to see the strength switch so this asset can actually catch up to NQ. So that was my trade today. This week was really weird, to be honest. Like just like stuff like this. Like stuff like this is just like not great. Obviously PA. Like random reversals like this. This happened to me like 3 times this week where I was up on the position, like up over 2R, and then it just randomly reverses to my entry. But like you can't really do anything about that. You just got to be like, okay, you did everything right? Can't control that. Question: when to pick NTP like an asset like you did with NQ? When to pick NTP lagging asset? Wait, what you mean? So like when to TP on, like when to hold NQ, and then TP when the lagging asset hits the high? Is that what you're saying? Yeah, so it's something you can do when this asset here on ES, right? It's always going to be ideally ES, guys. ES is always a lagging asset that you want to be trading. So if NQ over here, right, fails to manipulate something, showing a sign of continuation through this high, or whatever high it was, right? And ES still has draws open to trade into. That's the most important part, is ES has to have something to draw into. To remember, we always talk about breaking SMT, because at one point it's SMT, right? We don't expect it to hold. We want the lagging asset to catch up. So that's when you can kind of hold it. Typically, NQ will also expand while ES expands, right? They're just going to both be expanding. But as soon as it breaks that SMT, like this, that's when you can typically assume that range can be capped off, right? Typically, right? And as you see, it's kind of like retracing now. But yeah, this asset has to fail to manipulate on NQ. Ideally, there's objectives beyond, but this is all-time highs, so we're just expanding, right? As you see, this is an expansion day, right? But if there's like objectives here or something for NQ to drill into, that's even better, honestly. But yeah, we're just at all-time highs, so it's just like expanding, right? It's not something you have to do though. Like that's a little bit advanced. It's not a thing you can do like every single time or anything like that. I'd probably just advise not to do it. But yeah, it's typically when the lagging asset has framework to actually trade into the high. In my opinion, it did. It's just choppy today because YM is like bullshitting. If YM was not bullshitting, we would have had a lot more expansive day. Kitty, not really. You didn't really miss much. I just did like a recap, but I think you were here for that. I think I started around 13 minutes ago, right when you joined. I took on ES and got stopped. Yeah, it's all good. So like that's what can happen when you trade the wrong asset. So like I'll tell you when assets can kind of be, not ideal to trade. So typically you never want to trade the weak. So let's say I'm long, right? I never want to trade the weakest asset in the triad. So if I was trying to force, let's say I was trying to force longs on some sort of SMT like here, you never want to do that on YM, right? Because it's the weakest in the whole triad, right? You never want to do that. This is typically you're going to get faked out the most. It's like my trade on NQ yesterday. I got trapped in trading the weakest asset, and you see it just bullshitted all day, right? It's going to make like let's look at NQ yesterday. This is basically, right? They all reverse at this SMT low, right? But NQ is the weakest. And you see it's making the deepest retracements in the range. It's not going to be expanding as much, right? So you can get stopped out and blah, blah, blah. You never want to trade this asset. And you never want to trade the middle assets in, let's say this is NQ. This is ES. This is YM. Let's say this asset is expanding, like today. This asset is melting. You never want to trade this asset here, or ES, until one of these assets hit something relevant. Because that manipulation, basically, is what you're waiting for, should allow ES to expand. So that's what I was kind of anticipating, but yeah, YM did trade into something relevant, but it didn't reverse. So it just chopped the whole day. Like, literally. It just chopped. But that's something you can wait for a lot. I'll try to find an example of that, honestly. This can even happen for maybe the that weakest asset as well. You'd be waiting for manipulation. So I don't know why I just can remember this one being very clear. It's gonna be something around. I'm like brain farting. Where was this? So I think it was last week. Okay, no, this is a decent one actually. It's one of these days. Yeah, it's like this day. Yeah. All right, that's this day. So look at YM right now at this point. So we're gonna bar replay right here. So I basically traded YM higher and then NQ lower. So at first, to start this day, let's just pull up YM right here. All right, check this out. So this can be very confusing coming into 930. You're like, what the hell am I looking at? You're having this asset expand lower, this asset expanding higher. So when you look at ES right now, look at it right now. It's just staying in between a small range, right? So you want to wait. If you want to trade a lagging asset, you want to wait, right? But in this case, you can always trade a decoupled market like this into the manipulation, basically, right? That would allow potential asset synchronization. So I traded NQ. I post this recap for you guys, or this live execution for you guys. So I was assuming that this asset here, being NQ, at 930 would trade away from this set of opposing candles, right? So it's opening up within, as you see, this 30-minute opposing candle here, or this C2, right? And I can already assume, guys, like you can already assume that this asset over here would likely create a two-stage PSP with the hourly candle or the 30-minute candle, right? So notice how this candle here is an expansion candle bearish with failure swings. This asset is a bullish expansion candle. So when it runs out this candle's high, that's going to create an SMT. See that? So either way, I'm expecting this asset here, being NQ, to form some sort of reversal at 930 and then expand into the lows. So 930 rolls around here, boom. You see it instantly drops lower. And this right here is very important what we do down here, right? Because if NQ fails to manipulate this low, then what should that mean? That YM can potentially catch up, right? Or have that strength switch to become correlated with the NQ, right? But you're going to see, it's very important how the opposite assets actually kind of react at this area. You're going to see that it doesn't reverse at this side, right? So what this is telling you is that YM here does not want to reverse, right? Because NQ, remember, took this low. So now you have this asset staying in deep premium of the range. Well, NQ is in deep discount below this low, creating SMT. Again, this asset is in a fair value gap. So I'm assuming that this is basically telling you that YM wants to go higher to seek something else to manipulate. That something else would simply be this high. Here, that's the next relevant high, right? Is these value swings. So this is why I took this trade, right, to this high, right, for like 2R, right? Because it's telling me that it wants to wait until we seek this high, right? So at this point, you can pretty much just wait for 10 a.m. So notice how 10 a.m. opens here. That is going to create a two-stage PSP. Because again, in a decoupled market, you have expanding markets going in opposite directions, right? So that's going to create expansion candles in the opposite direction, right? So PSPs basically. You see this candle here is a bullish expansion candle at 6 a.m. Over here is a bearish expansion candle. See that? So when YM takes the high out, right, this can be the sequence for a decoupling market. So it's not only just with swing highs and lows, but it's also with previous candles highs and lows that create these two-stage PSPs that could resync the market. In this case, it does both, right? It takes out the previous candle's high, sweeping it, but also into a relevant level, right? This fair value gap on a lower time frame, that was the hourly swing low. So as soon as it takes that out, what can we do? This is when we would expect ES to reverse, right? Notice how ES was doing a whole lot of nothing, right? Here's 930. It just inside bars, look, between this candle. It does nothing. But as soon as YM actually hits something relevant, this is when it reverses. Does that make sense? So it's a little confusing. But yeah, it's pretty important to understand this kind of stuff, especially in decoupled markets and whatnot. It's really important. Where was I at? Oh yeah. Yeah, today's like Q&A. Like if you guys want to review your trade, post your trades in the chat. Got any questions? Go ahead. How do we know ES will jerk today? Yeah, it's just when markets are expanding in opposite directions, and when they do expand in opposite directions, like I want to be bullish, right? So I want YM to expand lower into something relevant. So I want that expansion into something relevant be a manipulation, but when it doesn't manipulate, that's when you would expect it to keep consolidating, pretty much. Because if YM did manipulate that, then we could have saw ES fly, you know, but it didn't. So now you just have continued markets expanding in opposite directions. So it's just ass. Yeah, dude. Me too. I picked ES, or I picked NQ yesterday. Here's why I picked NQ yesterday. Like, there's definitely ways you can see that NQ was kind of the weakest asset for sure. So let me go back here. But the only reason I took this asset was because it had an open objective, all-time highs, right? And we're like pretty close to it. That's why I took this. And when notice how all assets are pretty much reversing from this SMT down here, right? Notice how they all are putting in this reversal candle. That's SMT. So this is when you can assume sometimes that all assets will just expand, right? Just some assets will expand farther, but you can expect them all to like reach the closest objective, which is the previous high, right? And then if we hit this previous high, we can obviously go here, right? So that's why I didn't even think it mattered to take either asset. I think they all could have expanded, but it was just horrible delivery, right? But I think this framework is super fire, like super fire. Now you can see that YM is actually a bit stronger. Obviously, like it creates the fair swing here. It creates the fair swing at the current day's low for sure. And you can just see the candle close. Look how this is like more of a bulky body compared to this asset here. So you can see it. Obviously, this asset is a bit stronger. But I didn't think it mattered too much, you know, since they all reverse. So I guess that's my mistake, but I don't even think it's that big of a mistake. It's a bit weird. This is super weird because I want to see an 830 manipulation and then a 930 distribution. So I assume that this is the protected low, but like, dude, I can't put my stop loss like all the way down here. It's too large, especially down here. Like that's too large of a range. So it's like you have to opt for some. See, there's no failure swing here. You have to opt for some failure swing within this range to kind of assume that we won't take it out, pretty much. And I thought this was the stronger asset because look here. Or when we play price a little bit forward here, like even leading up to the open, like this looks a bit stronger. Okay, it's not loading, but hold on. Nothing's loading, great. Or maybe I'm tweaking out actually. No, it actually wasn't stronger. Yeah, that's just my mistake, huh? Because we didn't even take this high on NQ. And clearly over here we did. Yeah, I think around the open it like took this low out or whatever. Yeah, like around the open it appeared to be strong. That's what it was, yeah. Around the open it did appear to be a little bit stronger because it created this fair swing like SMT here. But yeah, it's just like hard to gauge really, but I just entered here. Like I don't want to see after a manipulation here. You don't want to see a deep retracement, right, after manipulation. I talk about it all the time. So like whoever that fair swing was on lower time frame, like that's what I trusted, right, to be my protected level in a sense. And it's, you see, it's not really the most the best thing you can trust, right? It's not really the most trustworthy low of all time because this is, you know, actually your protected level. It's not this little failure swing. Price could definitely do this, but that was kind of the risk I took. I wanted 930 just rip, and I thought it was just gonna rip. So yeah, that's kind of what I was hoping for. And yeah, 2R was like right here. It did not hit 2R. It came really close. Like this is what I've been dealing with, dude. Like lately, it's just like, bruh, it just comes really close and it comes all the way back. And I did not go break even here, honestly. And it took me out, right? You're gonna see that it takes me out barely. And then it just reverses, dude. It's actually crazy. And then I re-entered on this two-stage PSP. Here's a PSP. Here's this SMT here, right? So it's kind of forced. I was kind of forced to take NQ here, the weakest asset, because at this point it's like it's pretty obvious that NQ is the weakest asset, which is not what you want to trade really. But I'm kind of forced to do that. Because YM over here, look how high it is in the range. It's too high in the range for me to take. And at this point, since we failed to manipulate the previous high, I'm thinking that we can get there on NQ. That's what I'm thinking. So either way, if it's the weakest asset, I'm thinking we can get there. As long as my stop loss is at this low, right, this SMT low, I should be protected. But my fill was kind of bad here. My fill was like up here, if you actually look. If you were in a FISA stream, my fill was like way up here, which is not really good. I wish I got this retest or something, like that would have been fine. I don't know if it would have took me out then. Let's see. I don't know. Okay, no, I would have been saved, but yeah, basically it just takes me break even again, and then it goes, right? And then I re-enter literally off the same thing. A two-stage PSP right here, and it finally delivers. It was just super choppy, right? And that's to be expected though. Like when you're trading the weakest asset, I just failed to realize that kind of going into the open. That's my fault, right? I definitely make mistakes, right? Yeah, you're gonna see it kind of just fucks around like all day. But we ultimately hit this high, right? But I wanted all-time highs as well. Like you can be right. Like I was right that we were gonna get to the objective, but yeah, delivery can be bad. And you can still take losses and stuff, even if you're, you know, so-called right. And you see, we just BS this whole day, bro. That was yesterday for me. It was not great. I entered on the first UC after 10 a.m., waited for 10 a.m., open, expected your DPA. Wait, when was that? What day was that? Was that today, 10 a.m.? Ideally, you trade NQ just because it has those all-time highs still available today. Right? So here's basically the 10 a.m. open. We're opening up within this little CST here. Ideally, you trade that, right? And then on ES, it's pretty much the same thing. So I also took ES, just on a different prop firm, which is also valid. It's still valid, but you can see the strength difference, right? Ideally, you want to trade that asset being NQ, just because it still had that objective open, which is just to the left, right? But yeah, it just sucks. This can be kind of misleading too, right? Because we have this SMT here, so you think this is gonna be weaker or whatnot than ES, but yeah, it just didn't ultimately be it. It was more like just like a string switch. Valid re-entry. When was this? Oh, this is today, right? Yeah, this is valid because I mentioned this. There's a 2-stage SMT. I don't know if you caught that, but if you go on the hourly chart, we just look at this PA here, go on ES. We take out this 10 a.m. low. So we're basically creating a new low of the 10 a.m. candle. And then we do not take out the 11 a.m. low. So if you go over here, as you see, we create SMT there, get a strength switch while this asset's in a gap, right? And that's what sent price higher, which is actually decent PA. It's also just a PSP there with YM. But yeah, that's valid. Yeah, Pablo, I'm going to get to all questions. I have a lot of questions to get to. Just doing a lot of Lens 2.0 stuff. When was this? This was today? Oh, yeah, okay, I see. So you took this opposing candle? I don't think that's bad. I don't think that's horrible, to be honest. Because in theory, like, if it's going to get there with speed, like, yeah, you want to see that hold. You can't really anticipate this, like, BS. All these, you see these deep pullbacks and whatnot? That's because of the decoupled market, really, right? It's just price expanding opposite direction. And ES, it's just bullshitting like that. But yeah, that's tough. I don't think you should, like, beat yourself up about that loss, though. I think it's fine. Okay, so yeah, this is actually a decent short. And I'm going to show you why. Right, because at that time, like right when, so I have this gap highlighted here. Basically right when this asset, right when this asset is like hitting that gap, you're actually at NQ. It's hitting all-time highs at this point. Right, so it's above a range high, basically. Well, this asset is in deep discount, so you can trade that. It's just so low in the range. Like, this would be ideal for me if, like, this asset swept these highs while NQ took all-time highs. Like, that'd be super nice. Yeah, that's not the worst trade ever. It's just, like, what do you target? Maybe, like, some gap. Maybe, like, EQ this range or something could be your objective. But, yeah, it's not horrible. And I would be way more inclined to take this trade as well if, like, ES also took the previous day's high at that point. Like, that would actually be really clean, in my opinion. And look what happens, guys, when ES catches up to break that SMT. That's why you got TP. So, like, I was going to hold when ES took out this high on NQ, right? But it was just really messy, so I didn't hold it. But that's why I was going to TP when ES hit this high, right? But this personally is not horrible. So like this, so like whatever was right here or something. This is the same scenario that I was just mentioning, right? If I was gonna trade YM right around here at 10 a.m. ish, then I would want this scenario. That's what I was just talking about. Is I want YM to be more high in the range, while ES is like already above this high, right? So like this little move here, even though it's towards the end of the day and whatnot, if it was a different time, like it would be a lot cleaner, right? And yeah, this is actually clean as shit. Like if you want to scalp this little move here, it's actually not bad at all. I wonder if there's any like 30-minute PSPs or anything. 1430, so it's just expansion, consolidation, manipulation. This asset is way in discount, right? Clearly no reversal signature, so boom, it'll expand after that SMT breaks. But 1430 is bearish. What about over here? 1430 is bullish. So there's your PSP, and that would be your two-stage SMT, right? Doesn't matter what you can use. It doesn't matter where you mark the SMT because we know that ES took out a high, right? So this right here is your PSP forming the high of the 1400 candle. So now you're just trading GXT, but more like small ranged stuff because we know that we're not going to go down here today, especially this late in the day. So really you're just taking like 2R on a trade like this or like to these lows or something like that. So if you want to enter this gap, it's a little bit more aggressive, but if you want to just enter on this, right, just basically the fractal model, just targeting 2R really quickly around, yeah, that's basically around this low. That's a really good trade in my opinion. But yeah, this is like pretty valid. Like, it's not horrible. And yeah, I like how your TP is not like insane. You're not like targeting the freaking range low or something like that. I think that makes somewhat sense. Yeah. Oh, only one trade a day. Yeah, it's fine. Dude, trading at school would be crazy. Do you care about the weakest asset in a bullish market showing willingness to trade higher, like wine today? I was just hesitant to enter a long on NQ because YM was just so weak. So in a decoupled market like this, as I just need YM basically to pretty much just hit something relevant, right? And you're gonna see that when YM hit that relevant low, this is pretty important because this is when you do not need to demand this any sort of strength switching really. Let's say, let me try to draw this as best as possible. So let's say YM hit a low. So this would be like YM. Holy shit, that was bad. And then this is like NQ, for example. Let's say NQ is like way in premium with like maybe an objective or something like up here. Right? I do not need to see this asset strength switch. Since this is like such a spaced out SMT, right? This is showing such strength over here. In ES would be like something like this, by the way. ES would be like bullshitting, basically. It would more so be in like discount of this range that we're seeing here. More like discount, maybe even deep premium. And where this asset is actually kind of important because if it's actually super deep in this range, for example, if it's like super deep in this range, this is where you're going to see. This is why I have this I'll show you. This scenario here. If I can find it. Dun, 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 dun. Yep. Okay, it's in here. So you guys know when SMT breaks. So let's say this middle asset right here is like really high in the range, right? While this SMT is being printed. So if you look here, the middle asset, let's kind of fix this real quick. Let's move NQ like over here. Let's move YM over hither. And ES like in the middle. Son of a bitch. So this is what you'd be waiting for, depending on where ES is in the range. That's what we really care about. It's not really about a strength switch. So if you look here, if ES is like super low in this range, let me actually mark out premium discount. Then I'm going to assume more times than not that ES also wants to take out this low, right? So that's what I would be waiting for majority of the time. And this is what YM would do. It would just trade lower, maybe into something else down here while ES breaks this SMT. So you have to breaking the SMT, and then we would have some sort of reversal pie, right? But you don't need to see a strength switch. I just pretty much need to see YM hit something relevant, especially if ES here, let's say ES is not so deep in the range. So maybe it's more something like this. If ES is just in discount, this is when I wouldn't expect ES to take this low because it's not so deep. Does that make sense, kind of? So then I would just expect this asset to expand, right? Does that kind of make sense? Now, when do you expect a strength switch? Is for a lagging asset, typically. So you sometimes will see that strength switch at a reversal like that, but you don't need it necessarily. Now, to trade a lagging asset, you do need it. So what do I mean by that? Or ideally, you really want to see it. So let's say NQ hits a high. Let's say the middle asset is ES. So I want to see this strength switch here. I want to see this asset turn stronger to catch up to break this SMT. Does that make sense? And that's what you're going to see a lot. So if you go on my trade on, what day was it? Let's see. That's what we saw here, guys. What did we see here? We saw ES catch up to NQ right here. But what did it do specifically, guys, at the lows? Who can tell me? I said, what did ES do specifically right here to catch up to NQ to break the high? It reversed, but what was the trigger? Yeah, strength switch. Exactly. So this is going to be your real Q. So strength switch in the form of SMT, ideally, is going to be your Q, right? And that is when you can typically trust a lagging asset. It's literally one of my favorite things to, and one of the easier things to actually trade because you don't really have to do anything. You just wait. It's like you see the leading asset trading to something, so you know that the middle asset, more times than not, will actually catch up. But all you have to see is that strength switch, and then you can trade it with confidence, with a lot of confidence. So if you look here, NQ, I took this on NQ, and I think it was right here. So right about here. So notice how this asset, if you mark out the current day's low, might get noisy here, but if you mark out the current day's low on this asset, we're just going to use this London low here. As you see, it clearly failed to manipulate it, obviously, right? Now on NQ, that same low is pretty much this low, right? This 5 AM low, but we might as well, go to the current day's low at this point, right? So you already saw that YM already displaced through it. It already displaced through it. And what else do we see here? What is the trigger for NQ to catch up? Is this PSP here. So notice how this asset here has a bullish candle, and it takes out the previous candle's high, while NQ has a bearish candle and does not take out that high. So that is a strength switch that I'm waiting for me to assume that NQ can catch up to these lows, pretty much. And you see that it does that, right? Does that kind of make sense? It's because, right, YM failed to reverse at these lows. So that's why you can assume that it can catch up. This is in my SMT video. Why not ES? Because if you know the relative strength between specifically the indices triad, so when YM is weakest, NQ is strongest, And when NQ is strongest, YM is weakest, right? And ES is usually in the middle. So if YM here is going to momentarily switch stronger, then NQ would be the asset that would switch to the weakest asset, while again, ES is more of the middle asset, as you see. As you see, NQ gets the low first before ES. Does that make sense? Sorry, my dog is like trying to get comfortable. He's making so much noise. You good, dude? Garretory is crazy. Oh, that was like pre-market? Oh yeah, to that high? Yeah, I was saying that. Yeah, that is a good trade. If you take this, you would only put your stop loss at the wick low. I put my stop loss in because we are. Yeah, so like look at this, look at your range. So what's your actual protected low? It's this low. It's not this like body, right? So like if the wick size, for example, right, and you would still got stopped out either way. Let's say the wick was like right here, the body like ended here. I would put my stop at the body personally, right? Now I'm gonna stop that right there, regardless. So either way, like I'm getting stopped out. But since it's such a large wick, like you can put your stop loss at like the 50% of the wick. But yeah, in this case, like I'm probably not gonna put my stop loss all the way down here. It's just too large of a range for me. So I probably would have got stopped. If I entered that, I would have got stopped out too, to be real. But you can't put it so high though. That's the thing. I wouldn't put it that high with a large wick. Maybe like EQ of it max. Yeah, that's D1 greedy. Or you could just make it simple and put your stop loss at the lows, but I don't do that a lot of times. Just be real. Typically, if it goes that low, you're probably cooked, or unless SMT saves you. So SMT actually would have saved you there. But yeah, do you consistently use a 15-minute for PSP? I actually don't really. Yeah, I usually look at 1 hour and 30-minute first, but 15 minutes gonna be there because price is fractal, right? So you're gonna see sometimes like a 15-minute 2 shades PSP will form the high and low of an hourly candle or something, right? Or just end up like a pullback. Stop. So let's say I'm expecting a reversal at some sort of area. I'm looking for like any crack and correlation in that area really, but ideally at like, let's say actual reversal. So I'll use it in like continuation. That's what I will say. In continuation, like I might look, but yeah, I'm going to use the hourly and 30-minute ideally. But not for a reversal. I'm not going to use it on the 15-minute. I just never do that. So like just to catch the high and low today, like you never see me use a 15-minute usually. So what are you referring to? But if YM switch to strongest after sweeping that 10 a.m. low, it's okay to trade it then, right? So are you saying today? So like here? I would still trade ES. Right, so let's see here. Because it's way closer to the draw liquidity. That's another thing. It's like objective proximity. It's still going to be like ES is still going to be the best asset overall. So let's say you have YM, right? It does sweep out 10 a.m. low or something. Let's just say this SMT or some shit. Let's say it switched to strongest here. I'm still going to trade ES because it's still overall the middle asset, right? And YM was the weakest. YM is going to reach its objectives first. That kind of makes sense. So if there is an objective, I'm telling you, like ES, you know, or if there's like a lagging asset opportunity, like ES is going to be your best pair to trade, typically. Now, you can trade this asset, for example, right? Let's say they're all somewhat correlated. That's another thing. Like, if they're all somewhat correlated in a way, and you can just gauge strength just by what asset hits the high first. If they all reverse like that, typically they're all going to hit the objective. It's like yesterday. They all did hit the objective, but NQ is like the slowest. It's just the weakest, right? But they all hit the objective, which is like the previous high, for example. Now, if you want to, let's say this is YM, right? NQ hits this high first. If I want to trade a continuation, I'm going to look for ES, but you can also even trade like YM if ES fails to manipulate this high, right, and just keeps going. That's another thing to look for. In any lagging asset, is like if we fail to manipulate, that leading asset can actually continue, which would allow the lagging asset to hit that first objective that the leading asset failed to manipulate. So with the weakest asset, you're looking for the middle asset to fail to manipulate. And for the middle asset, you're looking for the leading asset to fail to manipulate. It's a bit weird, but yeah. And when you get a decoupled market like that, that's when you look at this, stuff like this. Where, let's say you have the lagging asset, like really, really weak. That's when you get this sequence right here between the leading asset and the middle asset. That breaks that SMT, then we reverse or retrace. It can be a reversal or retracement. It's probably confusing because you don't have a course on it, right? Like, I've never made a course on it. I don't have a lecture on it necessarily, but all my trader caps, you see the same thing. Yeah, it's something to study though for sure. I'm telling you. But anyways, this was yesterday. I got shit on where I was not in expansion candle, right? Yeah, it's definitely not, but this is CPI, right? So, was it CPI? Am I tripping? Yeah, yesterday was CPI, right? So when it's like, it's definitely a news event. During news events like that, with 8:30, 9:30, as long as that low, that wick is created from something relevant, you have an open draw on liquidity. Typically, we can still have some sort of expansion, usually, or we definitely could do it because of the volatility. So it'll almost like disregard this wick size, and it can reach objectives as long as your stop loss is somewhat relevant. Like this, so I entered something similar to you, but my stop loss is down here, and you have to understand that our stop loss, especially yours, is not in a protected like level, because what you have is this is the actual protected lower. It's right here, right? So you basically view this as this. It's a move lower, expansion, and this is the retracement. And your little stop loss here is basically in like premium or like EQ of the range. And it's such a small little pullback. You see that? It's like barely a little pullback. So that little last pullback, especially this little last pullback, it's not really safe necessarily, right? So it can easily just come back, right? And especially if you're trading the weakest asset. The weakest asset is going to create those deeper retracements compared to the other assets, unfortunately, which I did enter this too. I got caught in that. So yeah. But yeah, this little last pullback here can easily take you out, because all you have right here is just, you kind of view this as like one expansion really, right? It's really just one expansion. On a higher, and on like a 5 minute or something, you barely even see this little pullback. Especially on like the 15 minute, you don't even see it. So when you get that little higher time frame pullback, it can take you out easily. But I mean, yeah, if it was going to like at 9:30, which I did not want it to do this, obviously, right? If 9:30 just expanded, then yeah, you would have been safe. And that's what I wanted to happen. I just wanted 9:30 to just rip higher. So you would have been safe there, but you kind of have to like bet on that to happen. It's not like a guaranteed thing, you know? So I wanted my stop loss as low in this little range as possible, but that still wasn't even enough, fortunately. Where give me access to the PDF that you use? What PDF? Which PDFs? Tuesday. Let's look. Tuesday long. Okay. Yeah, I don't think did I trade this? Did I short this? Oh, I took this. I took YM here. So look here. So these lows, right? That ES took at least. Right? This is a pretty ass day, but you see ES took this low. So this is an important low, right? Because this is the current week's low on YM. It's this low right here. Right? So this is the current week's low on YM, which is pretty like what do you call it? Important, right? Obviously. So when you mark out the current week's low to the current week's high at this point, you see this asset over here is actually in premium or EQ of the range, right? Which is good. And it's also like in this gap or whatever. I don't really care about that necessarily. But this is what we see. We have the 10 a.m. reversal. So if I go to the hourly chart, right, we can't trade some sort of continuation because there's no reversal on this asset, right? So we have to wait for 10 a.m. to create the low, right? So I believe we had some sort of strength switch or something here. 12 o'clock. This is what I would be waiting for. So again, look what YM does. YM takes the high out, right? Boom, takes the high out. So if you want to see these assets catch up, what do we require, everyone? Yeah, strength switch, right? That's when I would want to see the strength switch, right, to catch up. So this is when you get this here. So this is when you want to trade this. This is also a quarterly theory concept. It's also a new quarter open through the daily cycle, as you see. This SMT right here is with the previous day's low. So it is significant. Or no, it's not. I'm tripping the balls. Is it with this? No, I'm tripping. It's not with like any... Yeah, it's not like sequential or anything like that. But it was a PSP, right? So you have a 6-hour PSP as well, which is a quarterly candle, right? So it's a little bit higher probability as well, right? But it's really not even necessary to understand that. Honestly, it's really actually not. But yeah, you just see the strength switch, right? It's simple as that, really. You see the strength switch. It's right here. So I can't remember what I took on Tuesday. Let me actually check. I don't know if I longed or what. I don't know which asset I longed. I just don't remember. But it would be valid, like either one. Let me see. See if I posted that. And I don't know if I shorted into the low. I don't even remember. What day is Tuesday? Tuesday was the 9th. 9th. Okay. Oh, I did take a loss on the 9th. I took, what was this? In Q? Something in here or something? Oh yeah, it was a 10 a.m. reversal. I took this loss right here. Yeah, this right here, I took a loss. And then it ended up reversing or whatnot, and then I took another trade. So I did take that loss, right? And that's what you're talking about, I believe. Where was that at? Yeah, in Q. So this loss, this is before 10 a.m. So I'm not really sure. Was that before 10 a.m.? Let me check. Yeah, that's like somewhere in here. You're taking a trade? Not really sure. Let me see, dude. No, that has to be after 10 on YM. Okay, that is after 10, right? Yeah. So on YM. YM. On what? Yeah, I don't... This doesn't look very clean, does it? I don't even know what you took, honestly. Like, I can't find it, to be real. Yeah, I'm not sure, but that's the loss I took, so... I wanted to long as well, but I had to just wait, right? So, on the 9th, yep, that's when I took YM to just the high again. So, that was the 9th, right here. Right, so you could take, really, since they all reverse, notice how they all reverse, by the way, guys. Since they all reverse, this asset still has an objective, potentially. But this is the reversal right here, right? Notice how they all reverse? This is what can happen. They all can expand, right? And this is typically when you can trade, like, any asset. And notice over here, like, look how clean this is. Like, this is why you could anticipate this reversal when it actually forms, like, this SMT. It's like, where would we cap off this retracement, guys? It's a relevant swing. Right, you see how this is a spaced out swing here? So when you get that strength switch, it's very, very clean. It's super clean. And yeah, there is quite a large wick size, right? But that's why I'm trading. It doesn't really matter. Your range is not very large. You're not asking that expansion candle to go like very far. To get YM, it's still a small expansion candle. So yeah, I took a decent trade there actually. And that was pretty clean, huh? That's a good example of asset synchronization. It's going to happen like majority of days, is some sort of sequence like that. It's pretty cool. Do you think that Tuesday loss was avoidable in hindsight? Let me try to find out why I took that. I think it was some sort of SMT or something. I think I definitely saw these equal highs, and I was like, bruh. Oh, it was like this. I think I was looking at this SMT or some shit. So I don't know what the hell is. Oh, it's like this maybe? Yeah, this relevant low? Yeah, something like that. I believe that was a current day's low. Yeah, that was a current day's low as well. But yeah, 930 not reversing is kind of sus. That is a little bit sus for sure. We also had this strength switch PSP as well. Right? It's like not bad. But yeah, I think we created something. I'm not sure what I exactly took it on. I can't remember, dude. I'm pretty sure it was just this relevant level being swept on ES. And then NQ, yeah, look at this. Like NQ had even like intraday highs. Like look at this shit. All these highs, like bruh. These highs look way too good for me, like, to not reverse here, honestly. Like, look right here. That's what it was. Yeah, I remember now. ES had so much equal highs. Like, look at all these. That I just assumed it was just going to be like a 10 AM reversal, right? I wanted, if we were going to expand, right? I see the V-shaped signature. I see that ES broke this SMT. At one point, this is SMT, by the way. See how it just barely wicks it out? And then we reverse? Right, that's what I was viewing it as, I believe. And yeah, but we just reverse off BS. That's really what we did all week, like literally. We just edged like highs and lows. Like if I show you the weekly PA, it's not clean at all. This is the current week's low, by the way. It's right here. Look at all these lows. These are equal lows. This low is in close proximity to this low. This low is in close proximity to that low. All this chop, like even today is like not the cleanest ever. But look at YM's. YM's is even worse, dude. This is the current week's low on YM. Like, what am I looking at right now? It's just hard. It's hard to navigate, but there's going to be pieces in that. Even in that, there's gonna be opportunities. Which I still had a great week, but as you guys see, I took like 2 losses. What, 3 break evens or something like that. So, and I kind of got trolled a little bit too. Yeah, it's hard, man. Hard week. Yeah, if you got cooked this week, like, don't worry. It's just, most people got cooked. Like, most people. Trust. And yeah, if you didn't trade this week, you're on the right path, because if you're like someone that's really selective, I mean, there's really not much to take here, to be honest. Like, if you're someone that looks at the daily chart for your opportunity and whatnot, I mean, there's not much opportunity here, really. I mean, there's just not. Like, look at this shit. You know, there's not much. We're not taking out any previous lows, like in this whole. Like, look at this. You know, and every time we take out a high, like, we're typically just having a pretty weak close. It's just not the best PA ever, obviously. Yeah. All right. That's crazy. But anyways, guys, probably gonna wrap it up here. Over an hour. Gotta work on this course all weekend, brother. But I will catch you guys later. I will send this up. And again, this, guys, I don't post these recordings. I just send them to T-Trade's brother, and then he posts them. So everyone asks me, it's like, when is your stream up? I don't know, bro. I don't have control of that. But if you guys have any more questions, just ping me. I will get to them when I can. But right now, I am working on the course. So, how do we find TJ's brother? He's not gonna send it to you. He sends it, or he uploads it to WAP. The course is for Lens 2.0. I'll see what I can share. But again, it's nothing. A lot of these like little lessons that I've done for you guys already is just going to be in a course format in there, like structured and stuff. But yeah, catch you guys later. Y'all have a good one. Have a good weekend.